So I'm just going to do the pick six first. And, frankly, this is all from the TV copy. The way I see it, there's a few things going wrong here. Obviously, Davis Mills is broadcasting it. But if I'm the corner at the top of the screen there, is he playing enough of a cushion here that Davis Mills should think he has a chance in hell of completing this football?
He's playing pretty far off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. But the thing is, I think that it's one of those things where, he's telegraphing it, but it's also he's throwing slightly behind. I mean, the corner's looking at him the entire time.
Well, and the one thing I'm thinking is if you're the corner here and you know the state of the Texans' offensive line, and you get the sense because Washington's not running a blitz here, but I think there's just no threat of a double move. The guy, that corner is not one bit concerned about it because, and we'll get to it after the pick here, the interior offensive line in the beginning of this game in the first half was just so atrocious. Right here, you have the center getting beat by Moore. You have the right guard getting beat to the outside. So the ball's got to come out.
No, I think you're exactly right, though, is that what you're seeing here is a result of a lack of respect for something that didn't even happen yet.
Right.
You know? And that's, nothing's in a vacuum, right? None of these plays happen in a vacuum. The guy clearly has zero fear of just getting smoked deep. He's taking a risk.
The run plays were bad, and I wanted to get your input on this. Yes, the blocking was bad at times. I wonder how much of it, though, too, at this point, is Dameon Pierce sometimes not quite seeing and hitting things properly. So we'll watch this. I'm watching this. Tell me from an offensive lineman's perspective, where if you're kind of why is Dameon taking that right there?
Yeah, he shouldn't be.
Yeah, I don't what is he seeing? It's blocked.
Well, what it looks to me
the way it's supposed. These guys are doing a duo, a double team up to this backer, right?
Yeah. Everything's connected, right? So what he's seeing, to me, it looks like, is he doesn't have the vision to realize that they're not actually securing the backside backer.
Okay.
So he thinks he can cut behind it and bend everything back.
He thinks that this guy is sealed off by this
linebacker on the right. He's thinking that he's caught up in that wash and that he's not going to just float right over the top. So he's cutting it back prematurely.
Okay, gotcha.
So then I think what he sees, and the line isn't realizing that that's necessarily what he's going to do. So they're working hard to take it over. The right guard is thinking that he can work up and take him, and then he cuts back. So that changes the read by the D line.
Okay.
So you see, look at the right guard's thinking, okay, perfect. I'm going to work vertical, get straight to him.
Right.
And then they get split.
Yeah.
Because he's not thinking that that's what the back is going to do.
Right.
The guy that really ruins this is the left guard. I mean, that's where it goes wrong.
Yeah, and
that's the left guard should secure that, and the back should just take it vertical, right down the pipe.
The back should take it vertical, and Kenyon Green, the left guard, shouldn't be getting destroyed quite like that. Yeah.
I mean,
and that's not even versus that wasn't even Jonathan Allen or anybody. I don't think. I think that might have been is that the kid that did the pile driver later in the game?
Yeah, what is he? I think he's a rookie, right? Or he's a pretty young guy, but that was rough too. That was just
the pile driver.
Oh man, yeah. I thought I sent you that. That was just like.
Oh, did you send it to me? I
think so. Yeah.
We had done something on it. The flex afterwards was the best thing.
Totally. Yeah, you're flexing on hurting your team.
And something that's been illegal for 50 years.
Forever.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that was something. So for those of you who didn't see it, this defensive tackle tackles Dameon Pierce, but kind of has him because Dameon Pierce hit him real low. He has him kind of in a reverse grip, so he picks him up and just suplex bomb drops him. And then gets up and flexes forever. It didn't do it justice on the TV copy, Drew. He was flexing for a while, as the flag had already been thrown.
It's when you're watching someone displaying just absolute certainty and confidence in what they're doing, and they obviously have no clue what they did was wrong. It's just a rare moment that you captured. It's just I love it. Great.
So there was that run to nowhere. This other TFL here, this was the first play of the game. That play that we just showed had been a little later in the game, but I just grabbed it because I was watching it before I called you, and it looked like, again, it's never just one thing, and
Right.
there are times where
Yeah.
Dameon Pierce isn't quite as decisive as I think he's capable of being.
Well, and
But
how
this,
could he be? Right.
right,
I
yeah,
mean,
exactly, yeah, he's seeing a muddy picture. This was the very first TFL of the game, and this is just another like old school ass whooping. I'll play it in its entirety, and then like. I just don't. These guys. The thing that was frustrating me in this game by the Texans' offensive line was like an inability to handle movement at all. So you
Right.
watch right here.
Yeah.
Watch both of the offensive tackles. We'll watch Laramie Tunsil first. Laramie Tunsil has the guy cross his face, and he just completely has no clue what to do with it. So he whiffs completely on the left side, and then on the right side, Titus Howard has somebody slant inside him, and he's clueless.
Well, I mean, this is one of those ones where if you're sitting in film review
Yeah.
as the offensive line coach with the line, you're waiting to hear what their explanation is that they're
Yeah.
telling you on what happened here. Because what it kind of looks like to me is that the right tackle is thinking that the
Yeah.
guard is supposed to be there and that they're
Yeah.
zoning up to the outside guy. So he's taking an insurance footwork.
Yeah.
He's taking it like, I have protection. If this guy goes inside, the guard's going to be there to pick him up. And the guard's treating it like he's no matter what comboing with the center.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems to me that the center could have jacked that up, but they should have been doing what the right tackle is thinking.
That's what
based on where the linebacker is.
So is it a miscommunication? You know, and I wonder if there was movement beforehand. No, there was no movement.
I mean, he's so wide. The
up.
end is wide there,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, look at how he's angled in. I mean, and there's no reason based on where the linebacker is for the center to say, "Hey, I really need a lot of help on this." I mean, he should be thinking like, "No, we're pushing everything to the right."
Is there any chance that the right tackle should be thinking to seal that?
Absolutely. If they could have just made that call and he screwed it up, and he should have just been turning back and working vertical.
But the center maybe made a seal call and
like solo or seal, single, something like that to tell him like, no, we're comboing to this guy. And I mean, on the left tackle on Tunsil, I mean that's a harder block than it looks, you know. And so he's selling out to get that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really he does a decent job. If truly,
if Dameon Pierce were able to, if he didn't have that guy in his face, he would have hit the hole. That defensive tackle, Tunsil's guy shouldn't be able to make that play.
That's exactly
if
right.
the hole is hit hard.
I mean, even like that, if that's clean on the play side, you know.
Kenyon Green. I came into this like not wanting to destroy Kenyon Green. He is a rookie. Like I don't want. Oh, there you go. Like I don't want to destroy him too much. Like I think he's going to get better, but there are times where like he's just getting worked. And
that stuff is tough. I mean, he looks a little out of sorts. His just the way he's managing his weight and body controls.
Yeah, and I think this is another one. I'll do this since we're on the topic of Kenyon Green. We'll just go ahead and watch his sack. So he's the left guard here, and I think this is Payne, the defensive tackle on him. And this is a lot like last week, Drew, I think, where he just gives up his outside. I don't know.
He's had a tough go.
He got
the head.
He got forklifted once in this game, so I don't know if he's trying to keep his to keep his hands low here. So
he got smoked on a couple power moves during that stretch when they were going against some really tough guys.
Yeah.
You know, Philly and those dudes. And he just kind of looks like he's now so worried about being heavy-handed.
Yeah.
That, I mean, like that move right there when you freeze that, whoa, that is.
What did he do? He just waxed on. He just waxed.
Yeah, because if you're going to jump him, you got to get your feet under you, and he's just laying out his hands.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a question, because I've never been a huge fan of the snatching or jumping guys, the quick setting on guys like that. Just because I feel like you got to be really, really good at it, because it's all or nothing. If you whiff hard. Is it a matter of like him not being aggressive or strong enough with it when he does it?
No, I think he's overly aggressive.
Okay.
I think he's overly aggressive. I mean, that's the difference. Like the jump set isn't about treating it almost like a run block and selling out and being overly aggressive. It's it's cutting off the angle. It's meeting the exact angle that you want faster than you would have normally.
Okay.
So your angle should really be, you're still having to be inside out and get your hands on him quick, but he's instead dipping his head and not moving his feet forward.
Yeah.
So his feet are staying behind him. he's throwing his head forward, and then it's just, I mean, that's like you tell everyone else. I mean, isn't that like what a D lineman dreams of? Like
Yeah.
when you get, like that's what a D lineman wants. They want you to throw your head forward, and then it's just you can do anything with them.
Washington did. Fred Smoot and an offensive lineman or a tight end from Washington did on their team website. They broke down down Kenyon Green's technique in the week before this game and talked about how they thought the Washington defensive lineman could take advantage of it. Yeah. And honestly, like what they were describing wasn't even necessarily bad technique as long as you actually do it. Like they were showing like where Kenyon will have one hand over, one hand under at times, which works. Like Denver made a living off of that forever.
A lot of guys do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good if you turn it into a drive block.
Right. Yeah. And he just doesn't do anything with his hands. Like, I think he thinks he's stronger than he is.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, or more athletic. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because you cannot recover from that. Once you do that, it is really tough to recover from that.
I just had a flashback to what it's like being in a film session when you have to watch the same play over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, your most embarrassing screw up of the day, and watch it in slow-mo on repeat 50 times.
So I'm showing it 18 times on how much that sucks. How do you think? What do you see out of him on his good stuff right now that should translate at some point?
I mean, he's got athletic ability.
I mean,
he can move. He seems like a pretty thick guy that can move pretty well. I mean, the challenge is that, you're looking at stuff where this is sort of like nuanced athleticism that I think a lot of guys at the college level now are already doing, and so to me, it's a little tough. I mean, his footwork isn't bad. It's his body weight and control is rough. His footwork's fine. It's just that what he's doing with his upper body is tricky against athletic D linemen that he looks like he's not used to seeing, which a little surprising.
He's seen him a few years in a row now.
Right.
So this is on a run play that didn't go anywhere, but but you do see
pretty good.
Green, what's that?
Pretty good.
Yeah. Like Kenyon Green's he's pulling, he's completing his assignment. You got the H back there getting hit. So somebody, the left guard or left tackle is just getting beat. Oh, the center's getting beat.
Go back.
It's a nice play by the defensive lineman. Let's see. So the center is supposed to back block. He has him, but then he gets wiped across.
Yeah, he kind of gets. I mean, if you look though, he's kind of. I mean, this is my my knee-jerk reaction to always defending a center.
Yeah.
But not that I'm completely unbiased. Have no prejudice towards center.
Well, yeah.
But if you look, I mean, you can see that it's kind of what's going on with like the left guard, left tackle. They knock him over the face of the center. The center's actually, I think, in a pretty good spot.
Tunsil does, doesn't he? Yeah, you're right. Tunsil hits
he
him.
knocks him across. It's
that's the worst.
I mean, that's a tricky. That's a harder block than it looks. I think.
Yeah.
Really good centers who make it look easy in the NFL. You look at like Kansas City. Rarely when they do plays like this where they're blocking back, they lock that guy down and it just looks so easy and it's kind of tough.
No, you know what's funny about this? This is a classic. Like, it doesn't go well, and it's for no fault of anybody's except that the defensive tackle actually makes a selfish move and swims outside for no good reason.
Right.
But as he does it, like that, so he's taking
that's
himself
terrible.
out of the play.
Terrible.
That's dumb. And yet he
should get yelled at for that.
He throws Tunsil into the guard, who ends up being just enough to knock him over.
Yeah. The only argument that you can really make is if you're looking at the right guard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's doing there because look at his reaction.
Right. Is he supposed? Well.
Right. Because if he's taking a path like he was supposed to work to that middle guy, which often they do.
Yeah.
But he just lets him go, right? So if he's not working to that guy, then why is he even jumping back and then turning? He should have just worked straight down at an angle if he's not working at him.
I wish I had watched more. I wish I had watched more film with offensive linemen when I was playing, just because it does. Like watching it from your perspective, you get an appreciation for just how hard it is for you guys to make the right decisions.
In the moment.
Like in the moment. And I guess I never really had an appreciation for how many different ways you can just like create chaos for the offense. Like, and I did a pretty good job of it. Like I used to stem my alignments a lot and try to make things as difficult as possible. But there is just something about just like throwing a hand grenade into the plans of
when we were playing together too. I mean, you were without question the most cerebral D lineman that I ever played against, and I dish out compliments to anyone judiciously.
Yeah.
But it's true that you had a real knack for being able to call out the play based on formation, based on tendency, things like that. And that is rare. Most D linemen are not that way.
Yeah.
And Dave Anderson, who you know real well, and I talk about it all the time, where it's kind of shocking that coaches aren't more open to bringing in D linemen to offensive line rooms and vice versa, or corners into, receiving rooms. It's just not really a thing that I've seen happen. And
I don't know. And like part of it, I mean, there's always, different guys have a different capacity for it. Because some guys you're just trying to get to learn how to line up properly.
Totally.
And then there's other guys that are probably more curious about it, but don't. I honestly look back on my career, and there's one thing I wish I hadn't been too embarrassed to be more inquisitive at times. I was always like, and because there was less YouTube and internet stuff available now to where you could go out and like kind of learn a lot on your own.
Yeah.
But I remember just almost, but this is just, I was too bashful at times to just basically ask basic questions about coverages and stuff. Like coaches would kind of talk to me about random, like strategic stuff that they might be doing in coverages. And I never wanted to look stupid, so I'd kind of nod along.
For sure.
Yeah, and it wasn't until Todd Grantham actually ended up teaching me a lot about like the actual higher level stuff. And I'd never, like as a defensive lineman, I'd never really thought about coverages and how they affect the fronts and anything like that until I got to be with Todd Grantham. And that was in my 5th year in the NFL. or 6th year in the NFL. I wish I had done it more. I think the other thing, too, is that it just like Trent Williams, there was talk this last week. I saw this as a big thing on Twitter, Drew. Somebody was claiming that Trent Williams had some kind of a tell in his stance, the left tackle for the 49ers. And all these offensive linemen were coming on and saying, like, oh, that's so dumb. Trent Williams is awesome. Like, oh, yeah, his stance is really holding him back. And I didn't go on to, like, see what anybody was talking about or anything. But my initial reaction was I saw a lot of offensive linemen, like ex-NFL guys, being kind of cocky and arrogant about how defensive linemen can't tell that much from their stances. And I'm like, dude, I would say half the tackles for a loss I got in my career were because of tells in stances of offensive linemen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like
I'm kind of surprised by that then, because I feel like even as at any level, you're really betting on them not paying that much attention, because you do have to change your stance.
Yeah.
You have to have those little tells most of the time. It's pretty rare that you can't do it.
Right. That's it's rare that you can't find somebody somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of it.
Yeah, and it was bothering me though too, because offensive linemen, like they should have been smarter than this. They were saying things like that, like I'm sure Trent Williams, it's really holding them back from being an awesome player. Like, well, no,
it's not about that.
It's not even whether it's holding him back. It's like
it's holding the team back.
Like it's helping. Like the guys that aren't being blocked by Trent Williams are being helped by that supposed tell.
Yes, exactly.
But I didn't want to.
Especially when it's broadcast like that during like a premier game.
Yeah, and Trent Williams is awesome, but there are guys like Tony Vaselli had a tell at one point, and he figured it out. It wasn't. Right. It doesn't, because a lot of good defensive linemen, what you'll do is you look down the line of scrimmage, and like sometimes you might think you see something on film, but you don't really know until you get in the game. Yeah. And then you start, and then you match it up. So in the first quarter, you're kind of looking at guys' stances beforehand and trying to figure out if you see anything. And then you sometimes can start matching it up to an audible or a formation or something. So a lot of times it's like not until the second half that you realize, like, oh, okay, well, I know exactly like when they're running counter here. That's nice, and you get into it. Yeah. All right, this will be the last one we watch. I noticed as soon as we stopped getting like super granular and watching the same play 7 times in a row, that like more people started sticking around.
Oh no!
Like no. Do you
I'm like, no,
remember?
this is the good stuff.
No, yeah. Do you remember? Okay, I remember my freshman year, the first time I'd watched film with our defensive line coach, Pete DiStefano. So this is like during training camp, first time I've ever sat in a meeting and watched film.
Right.
And he's doing that where he's just going over and over and over again the same play.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking, like, when's he, like, what? I want to see what happens. Why isn't he going to the next play? And then, like, the next play was when I screwed up a play and he started getting the same treatment. I can remember this like it's yesterday. You know, how many years ago? 28, 38, 40, 30 years ago almost. Like just sitting there and getting that feeling of like, oh my God, this sucks. This sucks. And I didn't know how much longer it was going to go on. It was like a 3-hour film session.
Seconds are hours in those moments. Seconds are hours.
It's the worst when you're getting picked on.
Oh, horrible.
And then when you screw up, so we were watching that sack that Kenyon Green gave up. Let's say Washington was a divisional opponent. Let's say that had happened versus Tennessee. So after the first game of the season, you make that mistake and you watch it over and over and over again. The coach yells at you. And maybe they show it in the team meeting, which is the worst, because then even the defensive players are watching if you're an offensive lineman. And that's extra embarrassing because it's like guys that might not know that, you're actually usually pretty good. But then it comes around the second time to play the team that season. And in prepping for the game, you start getting yelled at again for that same play, like you haven't already been corrected for it.
Right.
Like the defensive line coach, in my case, like a defensive line coach, we were one year we played Tennessee, and I made a really bad mental error, which I thought it was I thought it was a screen and it was a pass because I beat the guy so clean that I assumed it must be a screen. And I took like 2 false.
And you stopped rushing.
Yes, I bolted to the sideline and like. When I could have had the quarterback dead to rights.
You're so smart. You're so smart. You're the smartest guy on the field.
Dude, I beat him so easy. And it was somebody good. It wasn't Bruce Matthews. It was a good player. Where it was weird that I beat him so easy.
For sure.
So I was like, in my mind, I was like, hey, that was a shitty sell on the screen. Yeah. And I took off on the screen. So I got yelled at by Coughlin about it. And then that next time we played Tennessee, same play comes up. I get yelled at by the defensive coordinator about it. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, and he's really harping on it. Then the next damn year, when we go to play Tennessee again, they show that play, and I get yelled at it again like 1 year later. It was like an annuity of suck.
Yeah.
Okay. So the defense here, I thought I should point out that the run defense has been atrocious, and they ended up letting up 150 yards in the game, and somehow that ended up being, in some ways, actually better. Yeah.
Because they're historically terrible.
This isn't anything notable other than it happened early in the game, but I thought they did a good job of like flowing to the ball and defensive linemen kind of anchoring in on against zone and keeping their leverage. Nothing exciting or exotic, but there was a lot more of this. Okoronkwo, the left defensive end here, he's been showing up a lot too. Like just very active making plays. This defense is one that like encourages defensive linemen to just get after it. Roy Lopez here. Oh no, they're slanting here. So they had something. Okay,
I was going to say that there's a few reasons why I feel like this is kind of a
Okay. Yep.
I mean, they're slanting into it, and I feel like they're playing a team. I don't want to say finally because they've definitely played others that aren't as much zone read. But, the Commanders are not running zone read like some of the other teams you've seen successfully do lately, and definitely against the Texans. So they're not even respecting that at all.
Just on inside zone?
I mean, he's not respecting the quarterback rolling out.
For boot, yeah.
Yeah, the backside guy. I mean, look, he's just like, he's going straight at it. Every other team that they've played, they don't have that benefit.
I think, though, if you look at like how quickly they slant there, unless Okoronkwo like had a really good feel for it, because I feel like he's taking a big step immediately. Like he's taking that step to the inside.
Yeah.
So I think that it was. I'm guessing that Christian Harris, number 48, would have been replacing there.
But he doesn't,
on a stunt. Though. I don't know though. But anyway.
I mean, he comes all the way across the entire play.
Yeah. So Christian Harris ended up having a good game too. They had some better examples than that, but I didn't have time to show. I'm going to show you the. I'm going to show you. I am going to show you the. Oh no, they won't let me show this. Let me see if I can get it up. This is my first effort at photoshopping. This took me like 7 attempts. And what?
God, this is like where the generational gap shows because I have the exact same problem.
On figuring out Photoshop and everything.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
yeah.
Here, this is going to be brilliant. You won't even believe like how exciting this is once I finally show it to you. So I did. I just randomly wanted to put a pineapple in Daniel Jones' hand, and there we go. Slides. Your computer, upload file, Daniel Jones, and
we're just hemorrhaging viewers right now by the second.
Oh no, it's okay. It's just a live stream. I'll edit all this later. Thanks, TJ Williams. He says he's listening at work and he loves the replays.
Nice, there we go.
Thanks, TJ. I really, like I said, I wish I had done this more with offensive linemen when I was playing. Here we go. Look at that. I mean,
why the pineapple? Is there like
I don't know. Somebody had made a joke about swingers on the show, and did you know like pineapples are some kind of notification like that people
that you're a swinger?
Yeah. Did you know
I didn't know that. No, I didn't. I feel like
something about like if you put pineapples on your doorstep or something. I don't know. I don't know the game. I'm far too jealous and insecure a person to ever go swinging with my wife.
Yeah, like a pineapple keychain. I feel like would be like a good. Maybe.
Oh yeah. Okay. Jason White says Lovey should bring you guys in to teach the offensive and defensive linemen what they're doing wrong and how to improve it. The current coaches don't seem to be getting it done. That's like you can lead a horse to water and getting them to do it. And that's where sometimes I get really frustrated when I read scouting reports of defensive linemen that say things like, well, he doesn't use his hands well, but you can teach that. No, it's not like people haven't tried to teach the guy how to use his hands. Some guys just don't use their hands well.
Yeah, and it's the same thing every year when you're watching the grading. And I actually think they've gotten a lot better about this, if I'm being fair, over the last like 5 years.
Yeah.
But a lot of those offensive linemen, where there was that streak for like 10 plus years where guys were getting drafted like number 1 or number 5 overall to play tackle. And then they would show like their scouting report, they'd show their clips and say like, well, yeah, he struggles against edge rushers.
Yeah.
But we're going to figure this out. And I'm like, this is the number 1 overall pick. Like, you should know how to block these guys, right? And so it's like, we'll teach them. I mean, we got great coaches and they're going to, it's like.
That's what happens.
That's
what happens with veterans who have underperformed too, is a coach always thinks like, well, he hasn't been coached by me. He doesn't do all these things
definitely.
Right. Yeah, but he hasn't been coached by me, and that's when the good stuff starts happening.
Yeah, that's where we turn it all around. I'm going to take this giant guy and just turn him into an absolute Hall of Famer.
But it's tough too because sometimes it does work out that way. Like there are guys that don't quite get it or it doesn't click for them in college, but they're really good athletes, and all of a sudden it shows up in the NFL. I think that there are some of the stats people though have started to get pretty good at like recognizing and realizing, okay, college production really does matter. There's a pretty strong correlation between okay, a guy who's a physical stud and doesn't produce in college, you got to wonder, okay, if he couldn't do it versus boys, how's he going to do it versus men?
Yeah.
And then likewise, there's also guys that like, okay, there's production in college. His measurables and his workouts don't look the same. But I think now they can look at the GPS data and stuff, and they can probably start to realize, okay, this guy, he genuinely is moving faster on film than other guys that run a 4.54. Well, God,
all the time.
Davis Mills supposedly ran a 4.58 at his pro day. Dude, there's no way. I believe he ran a 4.58.
I mean, that's just so like that's the problem with the combine. I mean, that's like it. It goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
And it's the guys like it's, I mean, ages ago, like when I was playing with Terrell Suggs, like at ASU,
Yeah.
and then like later in Baltimore, those are guys where they flamed him for being slow on
Right.
his pro day.
He had
Just
an
flamed him.
NCAA record for sacks, right?
And was just by anyone's like just being completely objective, watching him, that guy was faster than just about anybody playing on the front.
Yeah.
It just was not. Why are you even paying attention to it?
When I wonder now, though, and these days, I bet that's like it's easier to show that with or without the workout. And I think because sometimes when Nick Caserio talks about it, he plays it pretty close to the vest when it comes to divulging what they do and don't do. Mm-hmm. But just from kind of reading and listening in the analytics community, and Nick has always been involved in that stuff. He goes and he's on panels at the Sloan conference, the sports analytics conference, and I think that it's not that it's weird because they're kind of like going back to a lot of the old school thoughts, except that they have ways of actually verifying it with technology now.
Yep.
So instead of some dude that went to Mississippi and saw the kid in person, so he's like, the regional scout, and saw him in person. Now they can see on film and break it down that, hey, this is what this guy can do. I do think that like with Derek Stingley versus Sauce Gardner, I think that they very much liked the fact that they had all this footage of Derek Stingley versus SEC guys, including in practice, going against Jamar Chase and guys like that.
Right.
And that's where you wonder, okay, is that almost like you're looking for too much information and perfection? And there's still time for Derek Stingley to get on Sauce Gardner's level. It's just Sauce Gardner went to Cincinnati. He didn't face as consistently high a caliber of competition, and that makes it a little less dependable. But still, gosh, you look at him, he sure looks like a stud.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I'll see you next week. Tuesdays with Drewy.
We'll work on that. We'll workshop that.
Wasn't that the name of the book, Tuesdays with Maury?
Yeah. Okay. Got it. That was a Tuesdays with Maury reference that I didn't get. Got it. Sorry.
There's that book from 20 years ago written by Mitch Albom.
Yes.
You would have been like 13 when you
just generic aspirational work. Got it.
Mitch Albom.
Cool.